taking down assassins, hanging out with gods, jumping through time, saving the world so many times that it's routine, and all this from one of the only Avengers with no powers. Here's Hawkeye's entire timeline in the MCU explained. Baby Clint was born in Iowa to one Edith Barton. A headstrong lad, he dropped out of high school, preferring to spend his time working on his exceptional marksmanship. After maturing into adulthood, Clint met and married a woman named Laura. It was around that time that Clint's skills with weaponry of all kinds drew the attention of Nick Fury, who personally handpicked him to be a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. Clint soon developed a reputation as one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s most skilled operatives, and one of Fury's most trusted men. When Clint and Laura decided to start a family, Fury helped keep their personal data out of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s files, and also found a farmhouse for the couple in Missouri to raise their children away from the eyes of their enemies. During his early years in S.H.I.E.L.D., Clint's work was fraught with danger. After becoming known as one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s most dangerous agents, the increasingly infamous Archer found himself in the crosshairs of the many international criminal organizations that S.H.I.E.L.D. was in the business of stopping. One of the criminal organizations hired a man called Marcus Scarlatti, an assassin and one of the most dangerous men in the world. The details of Clint and Scarlatti's battle have remained mostly a mystery, but we do know that Scarlatti came closer to killing Clint than any other opponent had before.
Marcus Scarlatti was behind the attack. An assassin. Almost killed Barton a few years back.
Clint himself was also unable to take down Scarlatti, and the Master Assassin continued to operate from the shadows. After becoming one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s top agents, Hawkeye was assigned increasingly complex missions of an international nature. For one such mission, Clint was assigned the task of locating and eliminating a dangerous new Russian assassin called Black Widow, who was stated to be a threat to global peace. Clint managed to track down Black Widow in Russia, where she turned out to be one Natasha Romanoff. During their interactions, Clint realized that there was a potential for good in Natasha, who had been forced to become Black Widow by a clandestine Russian program called Red Room. Instead of killing her, Clint offered Natasha the chance to defect from Russia and become a S.H.I.E.L.D. operative. Natasha accepted the deal, and she and Clint teamed up to put an end to the Red Room once and for all. To that end, they tracked down Dreykov, the leader of the Red Room, to a secret location in Budapest. Natasha and Clint arranged to bomb the building Dreykov was operating from. As a result, Special Forces pursued Clint and Natasha, forcing them to engage in a brutal firefight before hiding out for 10 days in the ceiling of a subway station. With Dreykov supposedly dead, Natasha officially joined S.H.I.E.L.D. and became Clint's partner on many new missions, as well as his close friend.
Just like Budapest all over again!
You and I remember Budapest very differently.
Years later, Clint was instructed by Nick Fury to go down to New Mexico to help investigate a strange object that was of special interest to S.H.I.E.L.D. Arriving at the site in 2011's Thor, Clint was joined by Agent Phil Coulson and put in charge of watching over the facility which housed the object, a hammer-shaped construct that no one seemed to be able to lift. From his vantage point, Clint watched an unknown blonde hulking man tear through the guards protecting the facility and make his way to where the hammer was located. Clint had the intruder in his bow's crosshairs, but Coulson ordered him to wait so they could see what the blonde stranger, later revealed to be Thor Odin's son, would do with the hammer. Clint was witness to Thor's initial failure to lift the hammer. He also saw Jane Foster leaving the facility and allowed them to leave so Thor and Jane could be secretly tracked. Later, Clint witnessed Thor regain his power and battle the destroyer sent by Loki. After Thor won, Clint helped transport the body of the destroyer to a secret S.H.I.E.L.D. facility. After the events of New Mexico, Hawkeye was tasked with breaking into S.H.I.E.L.D.'s helicarrier as a means of testing the giant machine's defenses. Upon breaking through the last level of security, Clint obtained secret files pertaining to something called the Avengers initiative. Soon afterward, Clint was put in charge of the security detail for Project PEGASUS, a team founded to explore the nature of the Tesseract that had been previously used during the Kree-Skrull War in the 1980s. Fury brought in Thor's friend Erik Selvig to examine the powerful object. As shown in 2012's The Avengers, Clint saw the Tesseract as a doorway through space and reasoned that the doorway could be opened from both sides. That was when the Tesseract started acting up, and Clint and his security team were caught unaware by Loki's arrival. In the ensuing battle, Clint managed to save Fury's life, but at the cost of becoming a mind-controlled slave to Loki along with Selvig. Still under Loki's thrall, Clint helped to create a method of disrupting the Tesseract using iridium technology. Loki wanted to test Earth's mightiest warriors in preparation for ruling Earth. To that end, the God of Mischief allowed himself to be captured and brought on board the helicarrier that also contained the entire Avengers team. While Loki distracted the people on the helicarrier with his mind games, Clint led an aerial assault against the helicarrier itself. He almost succeeded in taking down the giant machine, but was brought back to his senses at the last minute by Black Widow.
Why am I back? How'd you get him out?
Cognitive recalibration. I hit you really hard in the head.
Now free of Loki's mind control, Clint vowed to make up for his earlier actions by aiding the newly formed Avengers in their fight against the God of Mischief. Clint joined the other heroes in the battle against Loki's alien army in New York. He was able to hold off the army long enough to fire an exploding arrow at Loki, which briefly took the villain out of the battle. Finally, Hawkeye and the other Avengers combined their forces to stop Loki's army, imprison the god of mischief, and stepped out of the shadows to become heroes for all of mankind. Clint was now officially a member of the Avengers. After the Battle of New York, the team of heroes learned that Loki's enchanted scepter had passed into the hands of prominent Hydra agent Baron Strucker. Strucker had already used the scepter to carry out experiments on humans, with the most successful products of such testing being Wanda Maximoff and her brother Pietro. While the Avengers managed to retrieve the scepter at the start of 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron, Wanda slipped a bit of hypnosis into Tony Stark's psyche to make him paranoid. With the help of Bruce Banner, Tony began work on an AI named Ultron that could defend humanity against any alien threats. The AI eventually broke free of Tony's programming and became sentient. Ultron decided that humanity needed to be destroyed, meaning that Clint and the other Avengers once again had to step up to save the world. After a long and hard-fought battle, during which Clint was forced to reveal the existence of his secret family farm to the other Avengers, they were able to destroy Ultron. Pietro died while saving Clint, and Wanda became an ally to the heroes. A new member was also added to the team in the form of Tony's former AI butler turned sentient cyborg, Vision. After these major battles, Hawkeye was starting to become uncomfortably aware that he was hopelessly outmatched in battles against literal gods and monsters. In the days leading up to the final assault against Ultron, Clint promised his wife that he would retire from active duty if he managed to make it through the next battle intact. Once Ultron was gone, Clint made good on his promise and made it back home in time for the birth of his third child, Nathaniel Pietro Barton, who was named after Natasha and Pietro. Despite trying to enjoy retirement, Clint didn't find regular activities much fun.
Clearly retirement doesn't suit you. You got tired of shooting golf?
Well, I played 18, shot 18. Just can't seem to miss.
Clint then learned about the creation of the Sokovia Accords and how the question of signing the Accords had led to infighting between the Avengers during the events of 2016's Captain America Civil War. Feeling compelled to help his friends, Clint came out of retirement to fight at Captain America's side. This eventually led to Clint becoming a fugitive from the law and being taken into custody by the military along with Cap's other allies. Even though Captain America broke Clint and the others out of prison soon after the events of Civil War, they were still wanted fugitives. Clint decided to turn himself in to the FBI and agreed to the Sokovia Accords in return for being placed under house arrest on his own farm instead of being imprisoned. Clint spent his house arrest bonding with his children and teaching archery to his daughter Lila, who showed talent with the bow and arrow herself. While Clint was enjoying his downtime with his family in 2018, his life was turned upside down yet again when his wife and children mysteriously disappeared in his very presence. He would later come to learn of Thanos' mission to eradicate half of all life in the universe, and how the Mad Titan's victory had resulted in the death of untold trillions at the end of Avengers Infinity War. Having lost his family, Clint grew increasingly unstable. He took the fact that so many criminals survived the snap that killed his family and many other innocents as a personal insult. Clint decided to get back into active duty, this time as the vigilante known as Ronin. Now armed with a sword, Clint waged a brutal war against the criminal underworld of New York. Having killed every villain he could find in the city, Ronin turned his attention to the Mexican cartel. In 2019's Avengers Endgame, James Rhodes, aka War Machine, described Clint's actions in Mexico to Natasha in chilling terms.
The federales found a room full of bodies. Looks like a bunch of cartel guys never even had a chance to get their guns off.
Still thirsting for vengeance, Clint then made his way to Japan to take down the Yakuza crime syndicate. After eliminating the Mafia group, Clint realized Natasha had found him, and after a somber conversation, Clint allowed Nat to take him back to the Avengers headquarters to figure out a plan to bring everyone back from the snap. Clint agreed to help the Avengers with their plan to go back in time to collect the 6 Infinity Stones before Thanos and make their own Infinity Gauntlet. He was the first to volunteer to test the new time-traveling technology, using Ant-Man's Pym particles to successfully travel back in time to his farm, with his family inside. Now convinced the plan could work, Clint helped the other Avengers decide on a plan of action to retrieve the Infinity Stones. Clint and Natasha were tasked with getting the Soul Stone on the planet Vormir. Arriving at the location, they discovered that one needed to sacrifice the other in order to find the stone. Clint insisted he be the one to sacrifice himself, but Natasha managed to beat him to the punch. Devastated over the loss of his best friend, Clint returned to the Avengers headquarters with the Soul Stone, as the other teams brought each of the other 5 stones. Banner was able to use them to snap everyone who had disappeared 5 years ago back into existence, including Clint's family, but Natasha was gone for good. Before the Avengers could celebrate their victory, the Thanos from the past arrived in the present, bombing the Avengers headquarters in an attempt to get the Infinity Stones. Clint regrouped with the other heroes as they prepared to make a final stand against Thanos. Clint got to the gauntlet first, and he continued to protect it from Thanos' army while being aided by the other heroes. Thanos tried to get his hands on the gauntlet, but Iron Man managed to retrieve the Infinity Stones and use them to snap the Mad Titan and his army away. Despite their victory, Clint spent the next few days mourning the loss of Black Widow and attending the funeral of Tony Stark. Clint also reconnected with his old friend Wanda Maximoff and comforted her over the loss of Vision. At long last, Barton was able to return to his family on their farm. After the events of Avengers Infinity War, Clint distanced himself from the Avengers once again and tried to put his past as a crime fighter behind him. He was living with his family on their farm when he was invited to attend a musical based on the Chitauri invasion, which he and the Avengers thwarted years earlier. Clint took his kids to the show, but he was unable to enjoy it due to the many inaccuracies and being reminded of Natasha's demise.
Why is everyone singing and dancing about everything?
I don't know.
Clint was frequently accosted by Hawkeye fans whenever he went out in public, and he felt uncomfortable with all the attention. All he wanted to do was enjoy the holiday festivities with his children in New York before returning home, but his plans changed after he saw a troubling news report. Someone was using his old Ronin assassin uniform to terrorize the city. Still haunted by his time as Ronin, Clint decided to set off on a quick secret mission to nab his doppelganger and get his old suit back before things got out of hand. Clint discovered that the mysterious person who had taken over his Ronin identity was Kate Bishop, a young vigilante fighting a tense battle against a crime syndicate called the Tracksuit Mafia. Wanting to know more, Clint intervened on Kate's behalf and helped her get away. When Clint began to interrogate Kate about her use of the Ronin suit, he discovered that Kate had been inspired by the events of the Chitauri invasion when she witnessed Hawkeye fighting alongside the other Avengers on an even footing. This convinced Kate that you don't need superpowers to be a hero, and she devoted her life to becoming a master archer like her idol. Clint made it clear that the Ronin persona was no joke, and Kate revealed to him that she'd found the Ronin costume during a black market auction held by a mysterious and powerful criminal. Clint then warned Kate that Ronin had made a lot of dangerous enemies over the years, and that they would all be coming after her. Kate and Clint's private moment was interrupted by the Tracksuit Mafia's assault on their hiding place. The duo managed to escape, but Clint felt hampered by the lack of his usual arsenal, along with his worry for Kate and his desire to get back to his family. Meanwhile, the Ronin suit had once again disappeared, but Clint discovered that it was in the possession of a group of live-action role players. He also found out that Kate came from a powerful family with a sketchy background. Despite her wanting to work alongside him, Clint opted to complete the rest of his mission on his own and sent Kate back to her family. After assuring his wife that he would be home soon, Clint set out to hunt down the Ronin costume alone. Unfortunately, Clint was still being followed by the Tracksuit Mafia, who were initially recruited to get their hands on a special Rolex watch that belonged to his wife. He would come to learn that the villains were acting on behalf of a woman named Maya Lopez, aka Echo, who held a personal grudge against Clint for killing her father during his time as Ronin. Clint set about uncovering the true nature of the Tracksuit Mafia's attack on him and Kate, and determined that the Mafia was actually being run by the powerful Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin. Fisk didn't want to get involved in a fight with an Avenger, but Maya's personal vendetta was all that mattered to her. Clint also found himself bonding with Kate and warming up to her enthusiastic views on Hawkeye, from wanting Clint to improve his brand to coming up with new trick arrows. Kate even took Clint home to meet her family, but her mother, Eleanor, became concerned that her daughter was getting mixed up in dangerous circles.
I mean, she's pretty good at all this, but...
Natasha Romanoff was pretty damn good at it, wasn't she?
While trying to get the drop on the Tracksuit Mafia, Clint was ambushed by an assassin who turned out to be Yelena Belova, who held Clint responsible for the death of her sister Natasha. By trying to end things with the Tracksuit Mafia and investigating the true nature of the company run by Kate's parents, Yelena proved to be another major obstacle that forced Clint to rely on Kate's help once again. With his enemies closing in around him, Clint revealed to Maya that Wilson Fisk had orchestrated events so that Ronin would kill her father because Fisk saw Maya's dad as a threat. The savvy villain had used Ronin to get rid of his competition, manipulating the situation to his benefit. Clint also finally had it out with Yelena, telling her the truth about Natasha's death and spoke about how devastated he was over the loss of his friend. At long last, Yelena believed Clint's story and the two grieved over the death of Natasha together. Meanwhile, Kate discovered that her mother Eleanor was secretly working with Kingpin to pay off an old debt. After a narrow escape, Kate was able to take down Fisk and regretfully handed her mother over to the authorities. With the whole affair finally put to rest, Clint asked Kate to spend Christmas at the farm with his family. He returned the Rolex to his wife and suggested to his new protege that they should share the name Hawkeye going forward. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite Marvel superheroes are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.